Welcome. I'm talking about the courses that I teach. This is Brian Gibbons with briangibbonsreicoach.com. We want to talk about today buying on a contract for deed and selling on a contract for deed. Well, buying on contract for deed, and it depends on the state that you're in. There's a few that are very, very easy to work with, like Ohio and Minnesota and a few others. And it basically means that you can buy on a contract, you can basically be responsible for everything. That's making the insurance payments and making the tax payments and so forth. And if you pay on time, you'll get the deed down the road. And to me, it's a lot like leasing a car, where you make a payment, and at the end of the lease, you can have a choice. You can either give them the keys and say, I don't want it anymore. You can pay the residual on the lease, and then you have clear title. And, those are your choices. You can go get a bank loan to buy it and pay the residual. Or you can roll it into a brand new car with a brand new lease. Well, when you buy on a contract for deed or an agreement for deed or a land contract or that kind of contract, you need to basically make this payment on time. And you have to also be careful about the seller and making sure that the seller pays the bank. And we use a third-party payee to do that. There's a few pitfalls as far as making sure that your payment goes directly to your PITI payment on that house. And what could your exit strategy be if you buy on contract for deed? Well, you could rent it out, or you could do a lease to own or a lease with a ROFR. There's all sorts of choices that you have. But buying on contract for deed is one of the easiest ways without credit. You can have the worst credit in the world and buying on contract for deed. But you do need to know what the pitfalls are, and we go through that in our training. Now, selling on contract for deed, I generally don't do this, ever. And the reason being is you have to basically have a lawyer get involved with repossessing the property. Some states it's pretty difficult to do that. So I'm not saying if your particular state, I would talk to an attorney and say, look, if I sell on a contract for deed or an agreement for deed or a land contract or agreement for sale, how long is it going to take for me to get the property back? And then you have to consider damage and lost money, things of that nature. So selling on contract for deed, I recommend that unless your state has a very fast repossession process, I think Texas is pretty quick, you better be careful. Now, whenever you deal with contracts for deed, use an attorney. I don't care if you buy on contract for deed or sell on contract for deed, use an attorney. So we cover this in training. These are the courses that I teach. And if you want to reach me, just give me a call at 818-570-0840. That's 818-570-0840. And thanks for listening to this recording about our training on contract for deed.